to tonight's episode of the Group Therapy Podcast. Tonight we have a special guest, Asif Akbar, correct?
Yes.
A absolute, I would have to say, renaissance man. Looking at your IMDb page, I don't think there's anything you don't do. It looks like from special effects to writing to producing to directing to starring. Please tell us a little bit about yourself, sir.
Hi. Yeah. Thank you for having me on here, Paul. It's a pleasure to be here talking with you. Yeah, I'm, a filmmaker that have been blessed to be able to do many different jobs along the way on my journey to becoming a working director, producer, writer in this industry. So it's definitely been a long road, and along the way, I've kind of dabbled my feet into all parts of the industry, and the business, and it's not just filmmaking, but we, have to look at it as a business like any other. It's a product that we're making for the audiences and also distributors and producers and, buyers that need a certain type of content and product to put out to the market. So, a lot of times, like we don't think about it, but there's a whole nother side of the business from the development of a project and to packaging it and putting it together. And then, of course, we have the production side. And then after you make the product and you have the finished film in hand, then you have to go out and market it, sell it, and, distribute it out to the audience. And then at the same time, do all the PR. So there's all these different phases. And, coming up through the years on my journey, I was fortunate enough to be able to have the experience in all parts of those phases of, making a movie and getting it out and then putting it together, all that, to be able to understand a little bit more of, all the elements that have to come together to not only make the movie, but to also get it out. So I'm very happy and blessed to be able to say my latest film, The Commando, has released on January 7th with Mickey Rourke and Michael J. White, that I directed, wrote, and I was one of the writers, story writers and producers on it. So since then, I've made a dozen more films over the last year and a half, 2 years during the pandemic, to where we had to adapt to a whole new formula of filmmaking, which is very interesting. But yeah, I kind of, ended up doing a little bit of it all. And now I'm focusing more on being a working director.
Yeah. I've seen you came from Cleveland. I am a
Yeah.
fellow Ohioan.
Oh, awesome. I meet a lot of Ohioans, believe it or not, outside of Ohio.
Yeah.
So we all, I guess, wanted to get out of there at some point, but I still love, you can't not love Ohio. Yeah. What part of Ohio are you from?
I'm about 30 minutes north of Dayton.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, I grew up in Parma Heights, about 20 minutes down south of Cleveland.
Yeah, I had some friends that lived up in that area for the longest time, and I think they're now out. I don't even think they live in the state of Ohio anymore. So.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So tell us about The Commando. I'm not gonna lie. When I saw the trailer for this before we even set up the interview, and I thought at first, because I saw The Commando, and I was thinking I was like, oh, they're rebooting the Schwarzenegger movie, and and then I looked into it. I'm like, okay, this sounds cool. I'm a fan of Mickey Rourke, Michael J. White,
right?
Fahey, I like him, and it had me that I'm like, okay, this is a good cast. I'm looking into it, and then we got the interview, and I was like, oh, okay, this is the guy that made this movie. So
yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I've actually I've been doing quite a few different interviews, and there's actually been a few different people that told me the same thing you just said. Like, they came across the movie, and because we got tremendous press on it, which was really cool, nationally, internationally, all over. So people came across it naturally, and And a lot of them said the same thing, where they just had watched the trailer or they just had read something about it, and then the next day they hear, we're scheduling an interview. So it's cool to always know that people notice your work, obviously. And so yeah, I mean, Commando was one of those projects that came together really fast, and it was kind of unexpected of the timing of it all. And that's one of the things I've learned in this business and in the work we do, is timing is everything. It's a definitely a big major part of what gets made and when. And at that time in 2020, we were facing the pandemic, and we had to adapt and change a lot of things in the business. And some projects that we were working on that we were sure that was going to happen that year just had to be pushed or canceled or whatever for many different reasons. And then some other projects that we thought were going to take some time ended up moving up. So we ended up making the Commando and shooting it on location. I believe it was October of 2020. And then, it was in post, and it took some time, and it just released now. But that was a very nice and exciting project, but we just had a very limited schedule. It just happened so fast. We shot that whole movie in about 11 and a half days.
Ooh. I mean, it looks like a big movie, and you tell me that you filmed it in 11 days. It's just is amazing. And I give this to any filmmakers out there right now, especially. I'm looking into a lot of shows and stuff, movies that have gotten canceled, and it's COVID restrictions and stuff like that, and the cost and stuff, preventative. That these guys are like yourself are still putting out movies, and the fact that you're doing on a not giant blockbuster budget, and you're out there kicking butt and keeping it going. That's an amazing feat right now. So
thank you. Yeah, and it's actually interesting to be in the indie side of the business now, because we are getting more opportunities and the freedom to be able to take risks on making certain projects and tell certain stories that are almost impossible to tell through studio films and the bigger budget movies, because obviously they're more riskier. And nowadays the studio system, they're making things that are a little bit more guaranteed, which is, again, not anything wrong with it, because it is the business. But it's interesting because there's so many different parts of the business with different types of films. And for a while there, a lot of our us filmmakers were kind of frustrated that we weren't being able to just kind of experiment with certain stories or styles of films, which I believe now, with the indie world becoming much larger in the world of streamers and Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, all those outlets are giving tremendous support and access and opportunities for a lot of young filmmakers like myself and old, who are being able to have more freedom in being able to make the movies they want to make. And I'm seeing that firsthand with even some of the movies I was able to get made and are in the process of getting made right now. They definitely wouldn't be possible if the industry didn't change and all these other different avenues and opportunities didn't open up. And so we have more platforms now that we have to contribute to with content. So right now there's more demand for content than ever. And so you just got to adapt and figure out exactly what kind of movie you're making. When we're making these kinds of movies, we're not trying to make an Oscar-winning film or shooting for something that we know is not realistic. It's with the understanding of what kind of movie you're making, who you're making it for, who your audience is going to be, and what resources and time you have to make. And at the end of the day, we got to make the product and move on to the next. And of course there are times when we get that one opportunity to make that one special film that means a little bit more than just turning it over and flipping for the business.
Yeah. And I know I came from the video side of it. I was a video store manager for years. I remember getting screeners and stuff because they wanted you to carry the product and whatnot. And I worried that with the death of the video store, that, filmmakers such as yourself, the lower budget movies and stuff would kind of fade away. But it seems to be the exact opposite now. You've got everybody looking for content. You got everybody looking for the, the next, and I think it's cool because, like I said, I've looking at your list of stuff that you've got, and you've got everything from action movies to sci-fi to horror, and you're filling the niche across the board for content so that we can get stuff out there. So, and I appreciate that.
No, thank you, and I appreciate you. And I actually, in high school and through college, I also worked in the movie theaters. So I got to see and be familiar with that side of the world. And back then, we had the 35 millimeters, and then, we went through the whole transition of being digital, and even through, the phases of different years. I grew up, learning and doing work in production. We had to adapt with different technology. And just like that, I think the technology evolving definitely took over and filled some gaps, and also created more opportunities. Obviously, with the Blockbuster videos and other video stores, Family Video, they were great. I mean, we grew up on those. Those were almost like a cultural thing, just like going in the movies that it will never really get old. Even through the pandemic, a movie like Spider-Man broke all records. And we were blessed to be in a theatrical, even though it was limited. And then internationally, we got, decent theaters with the Commando. So there's still that culture that's alive, and the fire is burning there, where one day it'll still come back, because, in some countries, it's that cultural thing where that's all people do. They go to the movies. It's a family event or whatever. Even here, you have a date, you go to the movies. You have a family, get together, or you want to go out on Sunday with the family, you go to the movies, So I don't think that culture will ever be gone. Same thing like with the video store concept. Before, we didn't have the internet power or the resources to be able to just stream movies and have that library accessible, on your TV with a smart TV. But now, when we had video stores, I remember even making that trip to the video store just to even see what's new out there or what's there that you've missed, and to make that trip out and walk through those aisles. That was eventful in itself, and I remember we used to look forward to it, just like going to the movies to look forward to watching the new movie out that week. So now, the Netflix and them, they try very hard to create the original content and release those weekly. But there's still that gap, I think, that still need to be filled. And some countries, believe it or not, and I learned this from my whole distribution and sales side of it when I was working there, is there are certain territories in the world, markets like in the Philippines and other places, even in Mexico, where the VHS market is still very well alive, and they're dominating with very, very low quality content, like very low. I'm talking about like people that are still making movies on a VHS camcorder, that are just putting it out, and just with and people are buying them like crazy. I mean, these movies are making like 6 figures because that's the only content they have available on VHS in those territories. That's the only new movie that they get. So every week they're still going to their local video shop, trying to see what movies there that's brand new. And it could be $100 movie, but they don't care because it's just a new movie on VHS. So I think, if studios decided one day, hey, we want to go back to the VHS route, there'd probably be a market for it. Just like with DVDs. DVDs are still alive and kicking. Not as much, but there's still definitely a market, and people are making money off of them for sure. And I just had another movie release through Lionsgate. It was a Christmas movie, Ace and a Christmas Miracle, on November 16th, just this past Christmas. And that was on DVD, across the nation and everywhere. So they still do good.
Yeah, it's I own, not only do I do this, but I own my own comic book video game store, and I sell DVDs. And people go, "Oh, people still buy DVDs." I'm like, they buy DVDs almost every day.
Like records, people still buy records.
I buy vinyl almost a couple times a week. So But you know, you talk about VHS tapes. They just had that documentary about oh man, I can't remember where it's at. I believe it's in Africa. That these guys go out and they make these super low budget movies for $50, and they're the
Mhm.
biggest stars in their territory because they put out these on VHS.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, now, I know that's making a big comeback because there a lot of these new, like especially horror movies, have been released on VHS tapes.
yeah, like special editions or something like that,
Yeah,
right? With like that type of styled covers and the posters and stuff. Yeah, I've seen some of those. Those are pretty cool, actually, especially for all the old classic movies. I think that's a really cool idea.
well, I mean, they've done it with some new movies, like movies that just came out relatively recently.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Like yeah, they've been doing that for sure. I think even like they're like with Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I think they did
Yeah.
that, and then they made the book on it. So yeah, there's definitely a market for it. I would say. But yeah, like I'm always open to the change and adapting to new ways and the technology, and that's one of the ways we keep up with having a job in this business. Also, you can have all the experience in the world making movies for 40 years, but if you don't adapt to the current, then you're going to be left behind.
Oh yeah,
So that's
definitely.
kind of what we see every day.
Yeah. Now, like I said, you got Commando, you've got sci-fi movies and stuff like that. What is your favorite genre to work in? It's like if you could only do it
I'm
every
having a lot of fun working on action movies. I gotta tell you, because I know and I've always loved action movies growing up, and I feel like every filmmaker, actor, you know, uh, we always kind of dream of doing that one great big action movie, and those are the ones that inspire us because there's always so much you can do with it, and you can be creative and like look at directors like James Cameron. They were also innovators.
Mhm.
You can find new ways to capture the vision. You can also with horror and sci-fi. So I like those that allow me to push the boundaries as a filmmaker. But doing horror, I've done quite a few of it now, and I kind of I produce a lot of horror, but directing it takes you to a dark place. Whatever you work with, the subject matter, especially as a director, actor, you have to kind of consume that so much to the point where, your entire environment, mindset all becomes a part of that tone. And right now, where I am in the place I am in life, I just, uh, don't like to carry that weight on my shoulders as a director of, always dealing with the darkness and dark locations and thoughts and ideas and visions, which I love watching horror movies, but to make them, it takes you to a different place. So I am enjoying doing a lot more fun movies like action. When I made that family Christmas movie, the family comedy, that was a lot of fun. It was relaxing, it was peaceful. Doing action just pushes you to your limits of creativity as well. And plus, it's just fun writing action and filming it and even watching it, and to see it come alive. It's pretty cool.
Cool, cool. Um, I ask this of all the people that I know that make movies. Um, Money is no object. Who are you hiring for your movie?
Oh, so as an actor, I mean, there's so many. I would say Jack Nicholson and Leonardo DiCaprio for sure. Yeah, 100%.
Um, Now, like I said, you just did Commando, and that's the one that's just dropping. What was it like working with Rourke and White?
It was actually a very interesting experience. They're both, two different styled actors and come from two different, completely two different markets, but uh, everyone got along so well, and we were able to create magic. I mean, you can imagine in 11 days, having the limited time and schedule, we had to all work well together and enjoy it at the same time to be able to pull it off. We had no time to waste, and everyone. I mean, Mickey was there the entire time from coming on set to leaving, right there, standing on set. Wouldn't even really go and relax in his trailer. He was there, ready to work. Michael, put in some time in prep and was always accessible. So they both were passionate about it, and to work with someone like Mickey Rourke, who's been there and done that for decades, with the top of the top directors and actors, and to hear some of those stories in between the takes, and to kind of be in that presence of just old Hollywood, was pretty magical. I mean, it gives you definitely a boost of motivation and energy on set to be able to get more excited about what you're doing together.
Cool. I gotta ask you, is Michael, is he as intense in real life as he? Because I've talked to a guy who's worked with him in the past, and he was because he's a very disciplined martial artist, and he goes, man, he's just an intense guy.
He gets very passionate. I mean, yeah, I
Yes.
mean, he's passionate for what he does, but he's a nice guy. I mean, that's the thing. He does care about what he does and what he's putting on screen. So for that, I mean, I don't know, what your friend
He
was
just
really,
he wasn't
like.
he was kind of almost intimidated because
Yeah, I mean, well,
he was
of
like,
course, I mean,
yeah,
this presence he has. I mean, he's a
yeah,
big
yeah, that's what I'm
guy.
saying.
He's a tough. I mean, I wouldn't want to mess with him for sure, and get in a fight. But he's fought some of the, top of the top guys on screen, and he looks like a badass. So, I mean, obviously, he is an intimidating looking guy, but he's also such a, nice guy. I mean, he's like a big teddy bear almost, where, he's very, open-minded and accessible for people to really, talk to him about anything. I mean, he's overall great guy, and I've gotten to know him. He's a great, yeah, obviously a legendary martial artist and actor in his own right, but he's also a great family man, husband, father, and friend, and he's very loyal.
Sweet. Now, do you have any advice for people like beginning filmmakers, beginning actors? Because like I said, you've done everything. Do you have any advice for anybody out there?
Yeah, I mean, there are so many, but one of the things, for newcomers that are getting into it, or dreaming of, becoming something in the business, and whether it's acting, directing, being a filmmaker, whatever it is, even if you want to be an editor, you have to really be passionate for it, and learn that, the sooner the better. You figure that out, that no, this is really what you want to do. A lot of times people go into it, thinking about the glitz and glamour and all the glory of being famous and rich, but it doesn't just happen that way, and it's not that way. I mean, that's the thing, is we work tremendously hard to even have an opportunity to get to a place where we, to me, getting paid and getting the money and some fame or whatever is the bonus side of it.
Hmm.
My first reason I do this is because I love doing this. This is my passion. This is, what I've learned to, do with, and develop as a skill set to be able to make a living doing and have a career in. But it took time and a lot of patience, and it all started with my passion of knowing why I want to do this and why I love this. And it takes you a journey. I mean, some people, they might just know this is what they want to do, and they'll give it their all till the end. And some people, they start the journey, they figure out it's not for them, and it's okay. But it is one of those industries where if you don't end up being an actor, you can find another place for yourself in the business of making movies in whatever way you want to contribute. You can be a cameraman, an editor, a director, producer, writer, actor. There's hundreds of jobs in this business, and this, when we work on a movie set, there's over 100 people working, contributing, or even being a PA. Everyone's doing their part. So it's okay to find, other, positions and areas you can still be involved in making movies with. And that's one of the things I learned coming up. At first, I thought, actors were the ones that really made the movies because they're the face of it, when I was a younger kid. And
Hmm.
then as I matured up and learned all the different positions and elements that come together to make a movie, I kind of grew into, you know, other positions and trying them out. That's how I was able to do so many different jobs and learn and experience all the different elements that takes to make a movie and get it out.
That's cool. With the amount of stuff you've got coming out, do you have physical media out there in Walmart or I mean
Yeah, there's always, I mean, now it's getting to the point where I'm kind of losing track of what's where, but yeah, I mean, you can find my movies digitally anywhere they're available, and also physically there are DVDs out of a lot of my movies that went to DVDs. You'll even find them, in Walmart's, dollar store bins, wherever, but eBay. But yeah, I mean, nowadays, you can Google and find a lot of that easily.
Let's see, what are we at here?
IMDb and Google, they
Yeah,
go as a great combination together.
like I said, I was going through when I got the interview. I was like, oh, okay, let's find all the stuff, and I'm like, wow, that's just you put out a lot of stuff. I've got to ask you. You've done produced, I believe, some Amityville related movies.
And there's more coming. I mean, it just won't stop, I guess. Yeah, it's fun. Sometimes I like to give a lot of also up and coming young filmmakers an opportunity of some of the resources I have. And for them, it's always good to start off with smaller films and to kind of grow into doing, obviously bigger films, because just being a director isn't just being creative and, ordering people around and telling your story. It's about management and understanding the scope of the project that, you have to put out. And it's not just making the film. Again, it's going back to kind of understanding and keeping in mind of the whole business side of it all. So I like to, definitely consult a lot of young filmmakers and get involved in helping them get their movies made. And one of the franchises recently have been Amityville. That's been very, resourceful for young filmmakers to be able to make on a shoestring. And at the same time, they have a demand with the audiences to get some sort of, bigger and more bigger platform releases. That's what I assist with, and sometimes I help them put it together. So I, end up being a producer on some of these other smaller films, which I enjoyed the process also of being able to guide, up and coming filmmakers into taking, that journey, and also figuring out, what they can or can't do or what they want to do.
Yeah. I got one more question here. Do you have a go-to crew that you love to work with, like a go-to actors?
Absolutely. I actually have multiple go-to crews, and one of the newer films I did just wrapped about 3 weeks ago. It's in post right now, Mojave Diamonds, one that I'm very proud of because I was able to utilize a lot of the connections and crew that I've built up over the years to bring them into one, and kind of handpick certain individuals for certain roles and positions to be able to also blend a lot of the best people I know to make such an exciting new project I can't wait to share with everyone. But just like that, I that was one of the movies that I was able to kind of pick and choose and blend from the multiple different crews that I have to kind of create this hybrid super crew that was appropriate for that particular project. So every project is different, and they require different skill sets and different styles. But I am blessed to be able to say I have a Rolodex of crew like that I can pick and choose for certain jobs, because that's what that certain genre or subject matter calls for.
Okay. Would you like to tell us where we can watch your movies at currently? I know.
Amazon has a lot of the titles, and then you can go to IMDb, get a list of a lot of the movies I've produced and directing, and then You can see, if they're released or if they're coming, when they're going to be released, or, where they're available. Sometimes IMDb will give you that access as well. A lot of it's on Amazon, a lot of the streamers. Nowadays, also, you have the option to be able to search filmmakers on all the different platforms, even iTunes, Apple TV, all there, and everywhere, Amazon, Netflix. So if you even put in my name in whatever platform you're in, then you'll be able to, I guess, filter out whatever movie I'm involved in.
Okay, cool. Well, I don't want to take up too much more of your time there. I do appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. It was great talking.
It's been fun. I'm going to start burning through your list of movies here.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
And I hope to have you back again sometime when you're got another movie coming out. So
thank you, Paul, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, man. Take care.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
James Baker, yeah? DEA, military. Phew. I gotta tell you, I'm very impressed.
Daddy! It's nice to have you home.
I feel much better now.
I found something in my room. You found all of that money? We have to tell Mom and Dad. You don't know who this money belongs to.
I heard you were getting out today.
Oh, Jesus. Let's go. We got some business to take care of.
$3 million.
Where is it? Our old house?
There's some guys in the house. Dad, you need to come home.
Put one hand on my daughters, and I will make sure you die. You're just gonna have to kill me then, boy.
What are we gonna do?
Don't worry, I'm built for this. Enough with the kids, sweetheart. You gotta go.
We'd like to thank Asif for appearing tonight on tonight's episode of the Group Therapy Podcast. Very interesting guy. Some interesting movies coming out. So keep an eye out. We'll post some of his information here at the end. And as always, Group Therapy Podcast is brought to you by RU Game, the best comic book collectible DVD RPG nerd store located in Piqua, Ohio, located at 124 North Sunset Drive, Piqua, Ohio, 45356. And as always, you can watch me on Saturday Morning Serials and my new show, Sci Fridays. Sci Fridays, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And Saturday Morning Serials, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you guys take care, and I will see you next time for more Group Therapy Podcast. Take care.